We're going to break this down by running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Inside each and every position, I'm going to rank them from best to worst. And also, I'm going to be looking at some players at the very end of this video that you should be dropping off your team. And if they are on your waiver wire, you should honestly probably avoid. I'm going to be super brief with our first guy. Obviously, if somehow, some way, someone in your league drops Zach Moss, yes, you pick him up. Now, I don't think he's going to go out there and be the starting running back for Indianapolis going forward. But what Zach Moss has shown us is even if we can't start him going forward because we assume Jonathan Taylor takes the role and we assume that he expands upon that role, if JT were to go down, if JT is injured, Zach Moss is immediately a top 10 running back in the NFL. He's a premium handcuff back. And even if we expect JT to be the guy starting in week 6, he is still someone that needs to be on your bench because of his overall upside. Now, going down to someone that maybe is not going to be as obvious, we are going to be looking at a pair of teammates. I'm going to be looking at the combination of both Roschon Johnson as well as D'Onta Foreman. Now, if I'm looking at Roschon, he's the priority in this backfield. Now, full transparency, I'm very biased here, ladies and gentlemen. Hook 'em horns with both these guys, of course. I mean, they are players that I am going to be rooting for. But you have Khalil Herbert ruled out a few weeks here, and that is going to be opening the door wide open. I thought Roschon was an intriguing, buy low candidate after week 1. It's been very disappointing that he hasn't really expanded his role in this offense. If you go back to week 1 in the loss against the Packers, Roschon Johnson actually had 7 targets. Roschon Johnson had the rushing touchdown as well. We know he's going to be more so like the third down back, more so the receiving back. He's a great blocker in this backfield as well. Now, what's crazy is D'Onta Foreman has not even been active. But with that being said, it makes sense because D'Onta Foreman is a running back that you're not going to be keeping active as your third, fourth RB on your team because he doesn't return kicks. He's not going to do anything on special teams. So ultimately, he's pretty much just going to be someone that we're looking to get active when he needs to take the workload like we saw in Carolina last season. So these will be some of our top pickups at the running back position. And then going over to Kenneth Gainwell. With Gainwell, I mean, I wish that this was someone we did not have to talk about. I wish it was just DeAndre Swift and Swift was seeing every single touch. But this past week, Kenneth Gainwell did see 7 carries. If you look at the underlying usage, it's not too encouraging here, where you do have snaps going for Kenneth Gainwell as well. And what you're kind of seeing is you're seeing that, okay, this drive or this quarter, we're going to have DeAndre Swift as the feature back. And then the following drive, the following quarter, then we're going to go ahead and we are going to be putting Kenneth Gainwell in there. Like you see in this game, Kenneth Gainwell has 30 snaps in comparison to DeAndre Swift at 49. We're not going to be starting Gainwell regardless if DeAndre Swift is healthy. I mean, it doesn't matter if he has the best matchup in the world. It doesn't matter if he's going up against the Denver Broncos. But he is the clear handcuff back and one of the best offenses in the NFL, running behind the best offensive line in the NFL. And if DeAndre Swift were to go down, he is 100% viable. One thing that's worthy to note is it's just hilarious to see that you have Gainwell going out there and averaging 3.3 yards per carry, whereas Swift is one of the most efficient RBs in the league right now. Now, going over to our next guy, I don't want to be focusing in on this too much. But in Arizona, you have James Conner going down. Now, the reason I don't want to focus in on this too much is I know everybody's going to run out there and they're going to go after Amaria DiMercado. I believe we said that correctly. And they're going to say, oh, okay, well, you have no James Conner. He was the locked-in running back. I mean, he went out there and he saw everything in this offense with the James Conner injury. This is someone that we need to start this next week. Literally, you did not have another running back single snap. Now, that is true. And for that reason, he is going to be your number 1 priority pickup here. You are going to be picking him up over what we are going to have with Keontae Ingram. However, I want to wait till we get injury news with James Conner. And I want to wait until we get news regarding the Keontae Ingram usage and how this backfield projects going forward. Now, if James Conner is confirmed that James Conner will miss time, DiMercado is the number 1 waiver wire pickup outside of Zach Moss this week. That's if James Conner misses time. But even if Conner were to miss time, it's not like it's an easy spot to say, okay, well, let's go through and let's play him immediately. Because what you would probably have is you'll probably have Keontae Ingram actually being active this next week. And Keontae Ingram will probably split the backfield here. I don't expect, this to be a bell cow running back that we are looking at. This was an undrafted rookie running back this year that's almost 25 years old. I don't think he's super talented. I don't think that the offense is any good. He's going to be a great fantasy football pickup if he has the guaranteed opportunity. So let's wait. Let's see what we get in terms of the James Conner news, the Keontae Ingram reports, and then at that point, we could label him as the number one pickup this week. Now, going over to our next spot, Chuba Hubbard is a running back that remains on the watch list, right? I'm assuming that you already went out there and picked up Chuba Hubbard. He's been on a few waiver wire lists for us, but he continues to split this backfield 50-50 with Miles Sanders. This week, Chuba Hubbard yet again saw more snaps. He had 34 snaps here. He had more carries than Miles Sanders as well. Chuba Hubbard had a reception. Miles Sanders didn't. We have seen time and time again now as well that Chuba Hubbard will be a running back that they throw out there on third down, will be a running back that they throw out there in the 2-minute drill. Clearly, Miles Sanders is not fully healthy with the groin. And what's going to be interesting is, when does Miles Sanders either decide to just sit it, rest it, and come back at 100% later on this season? Or does he just play until he aggravates this and he's forced to sell? Or maybe he plays until he's 100%. I don't know. But based off the play that we've had from Miles Sanders, how inefficient he has been, I think it's safe to say that he is still dealing with some type of injury here. And if Sanders were to miss, then Chuba Hubbard is a must-start running back. If Chuba Hubbard were to miss, then Miles Sanders is probably a must-start running back. It's kind of that Pittsburgh situation, right? Where if you're desperate, you could start Najee, you could start Jalen Warren, you could start one of those guys. But in reality, you're probably just going to be rostering both, keeping them on your bench. And if one or the other goes down, then the other guy in that backfield is viable. Now, let's go over to another running back we've talked about a considerable amount. We'll be very brief. Tyjae Spears is a running back that you need to roster. If Derrick Henry goes down, Tyjae Spears is him. Tyjae Spears sees 32 snaps in comparison to Derrick Henry at 15. Tyjae Spears actually has 5 targets in comparison to Derrick Henry at 3. Spears sees 34 rushing yards. He's the guy that gets the rushing touchdown. What you're going to see time and time again is if the Titans are winning the game, then yeah, it's going to be a big Derrick Henry game. But if they're losing, it's going to be a Tyjae Spears game. And this is a team that's probably going to be losing very often. Derrick Henry's pushing 30 at this point. So, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world to see Derrick Henry miss time. Now, Ronnie Rivers will be our next back. With Ronnie Rivers, I'm going to be putting a small asterisk. You're only wanting him in your deep leagues, right? Your 14-team, your 16-team formats. What we have seen over the past few weeks is he's going to be the clear back if anything were to occur to Kyren Williams. Now, Kyren Williams is healthy. It looks like Ronnie Rivers is not someone that we can start right now. But if Kyren goes down, we've seen this team want to use pretty much one back in this backfield. And then at that point, Rivers may have some upside. Just a deep dart throw. Now, as we pull up the wide receivers, let me remind you, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you want to check out any pick'ems for tonight in either the Packers game or later on for the Mahomes game on Thursday, you can find that link to Underdog Fantasy in the description or the comment section. Promo code FLOCK on Underdog. You're going to be getting a 100% deposit match up to $100 on Underdog. You're going to be getting our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, for the Monday night game, you're going to get a Jordan Love special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard with promo code FLOG. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get y'all a Justin Herbert special pick'em. That one's going to be exclusive only with promo code FLOG for Monday night. Underdog never has 2 special pick'ems the same week, so please make sure you're taking advantage of that. Really happy I was able to get it for you. And my birthday's tomorrow. That would be the best birthday present you could give me, is signing up for Underdog with code FLOG. Now, going over to the receivers, looking at Josh Reynolds, I'll talk about him briefly. I'm assuming you already have him rostered, but Josh Reynolds is a must-start wide receiver in a game of Amon-Ra St. Brown's out. Even if Jameson Williams expands his role later in the season, Reynolds will be someone that's a viable start. He's had 3 touchdowns this season. He comes away with 76 receiving yards and the 5 targets. What's crazy is the consistency. I never thought you would see this. 80 yards, 66 yards, 69 yards, 76 yards this past week. We don't know the clarity on the Amon-Ra St. Brown injury. Now, of course, if Jameson is expanding his role, I probably prefer Jameson in his upside long-term. I'm just assuming that Jameson is for sure rostered in your league. Now, KJ Osborne will be our next wide receiver. I do not know the updated status on Justin Jefferson. It doesn't look great for Jefferson right now. And considering the fact that the Vikings just lost yet again, and now the Minnesota Vikings are sitting at 1-4, they are tied with the Chicago Bears for dead last in their division. I mean, the only team worse than them so far this year in that conference has been the Carolina Panthers. I would be surprised if they decide to go out there and rush Justin Jefferson back. It doesn't really matter if they have Jefferson or if they don't. This will be a team that looks to throw the ball pretty much every single drop back. I mean, we said it coming into the year, the Minnesota Vikings could easily lead the NFL in pass attempts. Looks like that is going to happen. Now, what's going to be interesting is they do play the Chicago Bears to see who will be dead last in this division this week. What I'm honestly kind of hoping for here is KJ Osborne and the Vikings to lose this game and maybe send Cousins to New York so we can actually get Garrett Wilson viable. Now, Rashee Rice will be our next wide receiver. If you're looking at Rashee Rice, a lot of people in the flock already have him. I mean, we had a million questions Sunday morning on if they should go through and start Rashee Rice or not. Fundamentally, I don't think Rashee Rice is someone that we can start for the time being. Going up against Denver on Thursday, maybe if you love the matchup, you could throw him in there. I mean, he scores a touchdown this week, but just consistently, you're seeing more and more usage in this offense. I don't necessarily want to hang up on this too much, but you would assume that the rookie is the guy to continue to get better as the season goes forward, whereas you'd maybe expect that you have guys like Sky Moore, MVS taking a step backwards. I do want to reiterate, though, I know a lot of y'all have him. That's the main reason I just wanted to talk about him here and say, okay, this is a player that played a whopping 20 snaps. While he's exciting for his long-term upside, you roster him, but you do not play him on Thursday. And Josh Downs will be our next guy. Similar boat, right? With Josh Downs, interesting spot. He goes out as another 6 targets. He has 97 receiving yards. Really like to see what we've had from Josh Downs this season. But at the same time, with Josh Downs, like at what point do you actually feel comfortable starting him? Like what do we need to see? Because I'm not starting him this week. I mean, it doesn't matter if Anthony Richardson's good to go. Doesn't matter if it's Gardner Minshew. But I guess maybe if we just get a couple more weeks of the consistent like 6-7 receptions with 60 plus receiving yards, then we can begin to rank him as a wide receiver 3. But over the past 3 weeks at this point, you've had over 20 targets. I mean, you've had almost 200 receiving yards over the past 3 weeks. Now going over to tight ends, Logan Thomas is someone that I never thought we would have seen this from. Logan Thomas this past week, yes, it was a game where Washington had to go out there and throw the ball a zillion times, but nonetheless had 11 targets, had 9 receptions, and the receiving touchdown. Logan Thomas kind of looked like their best playmaker at times, at least through the air. And with Logan Thomas going forward, I think that this is a tight end that I probably end up having to rank, not necessarily as like a low tight end 1, but more so as that like high end tight end 2, right? He's probably going to be in our like tight end 13 to 15 rankings this week. K. Dotton will be there as well. We talked about K. Dotton a little bit last week in the waiver wire video. We said don't pick him up now because he's going into his bye week. We'll pick him up after the bye if you need a tight end. I mean, going into the bye week, he had 4 targets. He had the receiving touchdown. I think that you're more so going to be interested to see what the availability of with Mike Evans is. If Evans misses, then Otton's going to be very appealing. If Evans plays, probably don't waste your time on K. Dotton. And then Gerald Everett, same thing here with Donald Parham, right? Donald Parham misses, Gerald Everett is very appealing. However, Donald Parham plays, Gerald Everett is someone to keep out on the waiver wire. So I don't want you to go out there and put in any aggressive fab claims on these guys right now. Of course, we'll be picking them up for pretty much just free. And also, I don't even want to pick them up until we get confirmation that those other pass catchers in their respective offenses are injured. Now, I want to look at some droppable players with y'all real quick. Starting in Baltimore, Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham Jr. are probably both droppable. At this point, it looks like Bateman maybe has lost his job to Nelson Aguilar. Zay Flowers has fully cemented himself as the number 1 wide receiver with 11 targets. I would be quicker to drop Rashad Bateman than I would be with Odell Beckham Jr. Is Odell, you can blame an injury, not blaming that with Bateman. I think it's the play of Rashad Bateman that has him in the doghouse. And the thing is with these wide receivers, It's what has to happen for you to put them in your starting lineup. Because if it's like an underdog best ball draft, right, where they can randomly pop off and have 2 receiving touchdowns, 6 receptions, 80 receiving yards in a random week, that definitely can happen. It maybe happens next week and everybody's laughing at me. My question is, how many times do you have to see that before you feel comfortable? Say Odell this next week goes out there, he has 6 targets, he has 5 receptions, he has 90 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. Do you play him in week 7? No. Well, if he does it back-to-back, do you play him in week 8? Maybe. But you don't really know. I mean, especially with these veterans, it's a little bit different than guys like Josh Downs, right? Where Downs or Rashee Rice, you naturally expect to continue to progress in their offense. Whereas with these veterans, if they're not getting the job done now, you have no idea if they ever will. Now, going over to Cincinnati, we have Trent Irvin and Tyler Boyd. I know some people may be excited to go out there and pick up Trent Irvin. Don't do it. Yes, he had 10 targets this week. Yes, he had 8 receptions. He had 6 receiving yards. What does this guy do to make him startable for you? And now that he is actually in the mix, Tyler Boyd, who was on our waiver wire video last week, is a clear-cut drop. The only way that Boyd could be viable is if it was only Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd. Boyd very well may have a decent week this next week. He may go out there. He may have 8 receptions, 85 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. You're not going to start him. And then what happens 2 weeks from now when T. Higgins is back in this offense? Then you're going to drop him anyway. So, yeah, I mean, Boyd had his chance. He lost it. Irwin is not someone that we are excited about. Now, going over to Dallas, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup. I mean, I know we're just talking about these teammates, and obviously it was a very tough matchup, and I do expect the Dallas Cowboys to have a small bounce back, but they're not getting consistent target volume. You look at Brandon Cooks, you're sending up a prayer that he has a long touchdown. That's what it is. I mean, Brandon Cooks in this game gets you 4 targets. Michael Gallup gets you 5, So if you're just banking on a long receiving touchdown, that may be viable in like an underdog best ball draft, but in your regular redraft league, I don't know if you could ever reliably actually start him. So I'd rather pick him up and go get a running back like Tajee Spears. That's an injury away from making a difference. But I think that's all I have for y'all in this video. Of course, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on it, subscribe if you play fantasy football. And if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, my favorite pick'em for this week will be Christian Watson for more than 40.5 receiving yards. You can find that link in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to be getting a 100% deposit match up to $100 on Underdog. Plus, you'll be getting our updated rest of season fantasy football rankings, a Jordan Love special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard going up against the Raiders tonight. And we also got you hooked up with a Monday night special pick'em, Justin Herbert, more than less than half a total yard going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Never have 2 special pick'ems in the same week, so please make sure you're taking advantage of that. It's also my birthday tomorrow and would be the best gift you could get me. But thank you again. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day and really hope I get to see you out in the live stream later tonight.